Alexa Bliss has only paired with a few people since her time in NXT. From Blake and Murphy to Mickie James to Nia Jax to Nikki Cross, all have progressed her character to what it is today. Today, however, the Alexa Bliss we know is an entirely different and transformed one. Brainwashed by The Fiend Bray Wyatt, her descent into madness and her character change have been one of the best parts of WWE television in the last month. Both The Fiend and Alexa Bliss were drafted to Raw, meaning that their alliance will continue. On Raw, the duo seems to have found their first couple of targets, Angel Garza and Zelina Vega. A few months ago, this pairing would have sounded like pure fan fiction. However, WWE has somehow managed to make this idea work on Raw. Fans will most certainly get some bizarre segments including this duo in the future. With that in mind, here are 5 bizarre ways Alexa Bliss and The Fiend's storyline could advance in WWE. Number 5. WWE airs a demonic wedding ceremony for Alexa Bliss and The Fiend. The above title may sound a bit bizarre and unreal, but it's not entirely out of the question when Alexa Bliss and The Fiend's entire WWE storyline is put into context. On Sportskeeda's YouTube show, Smack Talk, Rick Ucchino briefly mentioned an entertaining idea where Alexa Bliss and The Fiend could be involved in a demonic wedding. These two personas are a match made in hell, after all. Ucchino specifically mentioned the 1988 fantasy comedy film Beetlejuice. It featured an infamous wedding scene that will remind any WWE viewer of Bray Wyatt's Firefly Funhouse segments. The scene from the aforementioned film leans more towards a comedic tone. WWE could accomplish the same if Funhouse Bray Wyatt keeps popping up in between Alexa Bliss and The Fiend's marriage ceremony. There could be some long-term issues if this radical idea is seriously considered. In that case, a potential wedding between Alexa Bliss and The Fiend could be presented as a what-if scenario in a silly Firefly Funhouse segment on Raw. Number 4. The Fiend helps Alexa Bliss win a top women's title in WWE. Judging by how things are right now, WWE fans could witness a scenario where Alexa Bliss helps out The Fiend when the odds remain stacked against the latter star in a future match. That seems like an obvious booking decision because Alexa Bliss and The Fiend confirmed they are on the same page on SmackDown. However, it would certainly be bizarre if WWE flips this situation around, with The Fiend helping Alexa Bliss in a women's wrestling match. It wasn't too long ago that Braun Strowman slammed Alexa Bliss under the context of an otherworldly storyline against The Fiend. It is strange how reprehensible actions like these can be justified in certain scenarios involving The Fiend, because there are no strict boundaries in place that apply to him. This is why The Fiend could assist Alexa Bliss in becoming a future Raw or Women's Champion. Number 3. Funhouse Bray Wyatt opposes Alexa Bliss and The Fiend's partnership. Bray Wyatt's split personalities have been one of the most ambiguous aspects of his entire WWE career so far. Alexa Bliss is drawn to The Fiend like a firefly though, not the Funhouse version of Bray Wyatt. Right now, The Fiend is in control of Bray Wyatt's vessel, unlike the Eater of Worlds, who has been sidelined for the most part, except for rare occasions like the Wyatt Swamp fight. Even at this stage, fans know that Alexa Bliss and The Fiend can't stay together forever in WWE. So when the time is right, Funhouse Bray Wyatt could finally take control and overcome The Fiend's dominating presence to get rid of Bliss. To make this idea more accessible, The Fiend's in-ring dominance could be affected by the inner conflict from Wyatt's Firefly Funhouse persona. There have been several instances in the past where The Fiend becomes mentally conflicted during a match, with his debut against Finn Balor being the earliest example of the same. Perhaps Alexa's presence could widen the chasm of conflict between Funhouse Bray Wyatt and The Fiend, at least in terms of storytelling. Number 2. Alexa Bliss and The Fiend's toxic relationship could end with a Firefly Funhouse match. Towards the end of August, Alexa Bliss posted an edit of her posing as Harley Quinn on Instagram. Ever since Bliss and The Fiend's storyline has begun, it's no secret that fans have made comparisons to Harley Quinn and the Joker's relationship from the DC universe. Those comparisons keep getting more frequent every week. Just like Harley was infatuated with the Joker in a harmful way, Alexa's character feels the same for The Fiend, although Bray Wyatt's evil alter ego attacked her in recent memory. Just like the Joker, The Fiend uses people, especially when Alexa Bliss is taken under context. So it is only natural that Alexa and The Fiend's connection will come crashing down in the long run, just like Harley and Joker's infamous breakup in DC lore. Whenever that happens, there will be major consequences for both characters in WWE. Perhaps a bizarre way to approach this confrontation would be by booking a Firefly Funhouse match between The Fiend and Alexa Bliss. At WrestleMania 36, Bray Wyatt made John Cena face his own fears in a Firefly Funhouse match that focused on mental anguish rather than a physical showdown. Since a physical match between Alexa Bliss and The Fiend could be uncomfortable to watch, a Firefly Funhouse match focusing on psychological warfare could be an intriguing way to end their partnership in WWE. Number 1. Alexa Bliss becomes Sister Abigail. Bray Wyatt has tried to bring the Sister Abigail character to life several times, and they might just be able to pull that off with Alexa Bliss. Not only is she the perfect choice to play the mystical goddess-like character, but it also puts her in a role where she isn't as prone to getting injured. For example, if Bliss became Sister Abigail, she wouldn't have to wrestle as much and could just act as the Fiend's manager. While that might seem like a demotion for a multi-time women's champion, it would be a very high-profile role and could always lead to a title run down the line. In the end, WWE fans have always wanted to see their Bliss fan fictions acted upon, and watching her join forces with The Fiend is one of them. Of course, it might not be a relationship storyline like fans are probably hoping for, but it would make the Fiend character stronger than ever. Natalya loses teeth after a punch from Lacey Evans. Natalya did not have a good night on Raw this week. After dumping Lana and losing to her in the main event, Natalya revealed that she received a battle wound from Lacey Evans. Raw's main event saw women from both brands fight for a title opportunity against the Raw Women's Champion, Asuka. Natalya seemingly won as she last eliminated Lacey Evans. Unfortunately, Natalya lost the match in something else. As the Queen of Hearts shared on Twitter, she lost some teeth after Lacey Evans hit her. Such a whirlwind of emotions tonight on Raw. One thing I know for sure, Lacey Evans' WWE strikes are no joke. She's a badass, knocked my tooth out, but I still eliminated her in the match. So there's that. However, Natalya eliminated Lacey at the end and got her revenge. She said, "I still eliminated her in the match. So there's that." And followed it with her hashtag of BOAT best of all time. The team of Lana and Natalya suffered from another loss on Raw. But unlike before, Natalya decided she was done with everything. The segment ended with Natalya declaring that she is done with Lana. There is no further update on whether Lana and Natalya have actually broken their tag team or not. This incident was shocking as Lana and Natalya were training together and supporting each other through thick and thin. Unfortunately, Natalya has walked her own path as she said, "Enough is enough. It's time for a change." Hopefully, the duo will address their issues next week on Raw and settle all misunderstandings for good.